Hey guys, I'm Manchester Diaz, working in conjunction with Ravishly.com, and let's do something a little bit different today. You know, growing up I was always a bit of a nerd. Although this might not be surprising if you look at me. Starting at a pretty young age, I watched and read a lot of stuff that really changed my view of the world. Spider-Man and Captain America taught me that a real hero is based on what he chooses to do for others and not just how strong he is. Disney movies taught me that really anything is possible. I always remember the genie from Aladdin being really important to me because it showed me that it was okay to be weird. The reason why these things are so important is because they were lessons that weren't spoon-fed to us. It's still fundamentally kids' entertainment, but it taught us something about the world in an approachable way that really affected our worldview. And those things are really important in a kid's life. So today let's talk about 5 important cartoons and movies for your kids to see. Number 1, Zootopia. In all honesty, this film is actually what inspired me to make this video. Zootopia is a film about a world where humans never existed, where animals evolved in the way that we did. There's predators and there's prey. And even though they've evolved past those base instincts, there's still a lot of obvious tension between those different species. This Disney film talks about racism in a very real and approachable way. There's more obvious stuff. The main character is the first rabbit police officer and all the other ones are predators. And so they all think she's not capable of doing a good job and look down on her. But at the same time, this movie also talks about prejudice and profiling. The smaller animals are seen being obviously uncomfortable and scared and stereotyping the larger ones. Not only is this film fun, touching, funny, and just beautiful, but the way they basically talk about race and say that we should embrace what makes us different instead of writing it off as we're all the same is really mature. And it's a very important thing for a kid to see. So go check it out, please. Number 2, Avatar: The Legend of Korra. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know what this is because the Avatar series is huge. The world is split into a bunch of different nations and cultures where some people can control one of the 4 elements. The Avatar is one person on the planet who can master all 4 elements. And basically they're considered the Guardian. And not only is the main character of the show a strong, skilled woman of color, she has a physique you don't see in a lot of female characters, which is really important for representation. The series has always been known for being a pretty mature cartoon. They deal with some pretty heavy stuff. But Legend of Korra is next level. A big part of the last season has to do with her dealing with PTSD because of everything she's been through. And over time, the show builds a really cool and strong queer relationship. The show talks about what it means to be a hero, about responsibility, but at the same time, it talks about the fallout of taking on too much at once. It's a fun show, the world it builds is great, the visual style is cool, the martial arts are fantastic, and it's a really, really important show for kids to watch, especially for building young women. But let's move on to number 3, Inside Out. Yeah, there's a lot of Disney movies on this list. As of late, Disney and Pixar are doing a really good job of approaching complex ideas. And Inside Out is a really good example. A 13-year-old girl named Riley moves with her parents from Minnesota to San Francisco. But even though Riley's our protagonist, the real characters are the emotions inside of her head. Joy, disgust, fear, sadness, and anger. The film deals with depression in a very real way. It shows how a difficult life change can affect a young mind. It shows the struggle for control of your emotions. And one of the craziest things that I never even realized until recently is that it's the first Disney movie without a villain. In fact, the closest thing to a villain is how controlling one of the main characters is. Because in reality, when it comes to being inside your own head, there's not really a bad guy. The feelings you have, even the bad ones, are valid and important. And Inside Out does that while expressing some of the most unique ideas I've ever seen in a Disney movie. So definitely go watch it. I actually just watched it recently. Number 4, Tangled. Now, as far as Disney movies go, I feel like Tangled is overlooked a lot. Frozen is often held up as the high point of like these new Disney princess CGI movies. But I think Tangled is actually a way better film. The main character has basically lived alone her entire life. But instead of being like a lot of traditional princess stories, this has made her really resilient, independent, and strong. And on top of that, basically everyone she comes across loves her because she's friendly and open and genuine to people. The main character's relationship with the evil mother figure is one of the craziest examples I've ever seen of like child abuse and like really, really subtle gaslighting. It shows such an underrepresented view of toxic family relationships that even a close friend of mine said that watching the movie made her realize what a bad relationship she has to someone in her family. And it's so important to teach kids that to keep them safe because we need them able to identify that kind of behavior. All around, Tangled just doesn't get enough credit for being such a fun, sweet, awesome movie. I literally cry every time I've watched it, and I've seen it like 15 times. I watched it on an airplane like 3 weeks ago, and I remember sitting there and saying, why am I watching this? I know I'm gonna cry, and then I did. And number 5, and my personal favorite, Steven Universe. Now, honestly, Steven Universe is probably one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I don't know if you could tell that by the fact that I'm literally wearing this shirt and didn't even think about it when I started recording this video. Again, it's really hard to try and explain the plot of this show to someone. Basically, there's an alien race of all-female warriors called the Crystal Gems, but their leader, Rose Quartz, fell in love with a human and had the first half-human, half-gem child, a boy named Steven Universe. The show is fun and cute and funny, and over time has some of the best world building I've ever seen in a cartoon. You start to learn more about Steven and his powers, his relationship to his mother because she had to die for him to be born, and I can't stress how important this show is. All the most badass characters in the show are women. Literally, as far as we know, the entire race of like 1,000-year-old space warriors are all women. The main character, Steven, is a kid who's sensitive and vulnerable vulnerable, loves openly, and he's not afraid to be feminine. And more importantly, the adults around him embrace that, and they love that about him. And it might be one of the most body positive shows I've ever seen. Literally every character on there is a different body type. Steven himself is a pretty chubby kid, but it's never brought up or made fun of. He's allowed to just be him. And if this show had existed when I was a kid, it would have spared me a lot of problems I have with my own self-esteem. I really can't stress how much I love Steven Universe. Because his actual mom is gone and his dad really isn't around. He basically is raised by 3 moms. And they all have their own issues, and they're dealing with the death of their leader in a very real way. And I have no idea how they were allowed to do it or how they pulled it off, but they basically had queer relationships the entire series. Major characters are based around gay relationships. It's really awesome, and they do it in such an approachable way. I've always thought the best way to get a kid to pay attention to you is to not talk to him like he's a child. Kids are small people. They're developing the behaviors and ideas that will carry them into adulthood. So if we want them to learn important ideas, we don't have to dumb it down or spoon feed them. All we have to do is make it approachable and talk to them like they're people. So if you and your child or the kids you babysit or your nephew or whatever haven't seen any of these, please check them out. Not only can they do some real good, but they're also a lot of fun. Well guys, that's all for now. Check out ravishly.com for a lot of really great articles on body image, relationships, feminism, including ones that I've written there. My most recent article was an open letter to the women I accused of friend zoning me. It's about owning up to your past mistakes and the myth of the friend zone. What did you guys think of this video? Do you want me to make more like these in the future? Kind of change up the format every once in a while? Let's have a discussion. I want to do more with this channel. As always, check out mattjosephdiaz.com for info on booking me for writing or social media or public speaking stuff. And follow mattjosephdiaz.com on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. Been a lot of fun, guys. I'll see you soon.